This is Earnest Mann, giving you insights and opinions you just won't find anywhere else. In my previous episode, I humorously pointed out Joe Rogan's self-inflicted viewership troubles caused by his apparent love affair with celebrity grifters. But this episode is quite different. It's very serious and very useful. And as far as Joe's concerned, don't shed a tear, because unlike you and I, if tomorrow Joe didn't earn a single dime for the rest of his life, he could live the rest of his life very comfortably. So the joke's on us. One of the biggest problems we have today is that we're fragmented. And I'm going to talk about not only why that is, but once you understand why that is, it will absolutely help you overcome many of life's difficulties. That's why I always say I'm better than a therapist. No endless regurgitating the stupid decisions of your past. No endless speculative discussions about the direction of your life's journey in order to lighten your current burdens. Because typically, after 6 months of being massaged by psychological snake oil, the only thing that definitely gets lightened with a therapist is your bank account. I'd like to start this by giving you an old parable that I believe should illustrate the situation very clearly. The parable that was popularized by American poet John Godfrey Saxe in the 19th century has its roots that go back to Buddhist and Hindu traditions, as well as others. In case you're not familiar with the parable, it tells the story of a group of blind men who are asked to describe an elephant, by each of them examining a different part of an elephant. And what the parable is meant to illustrate is that none of the men can accurately describe the entire elephant due to their limited experience and perception. That's exactly the situation many people find themselves in today, and one of the primary reasons we are fragmented and have so much friction. I'm going to tell you the main reason that answers the age-old question: why can't we just all get along? If I'm able to do this for you as I claim, all I ask in return is that you nominate me for a Nobel Prize. Okay, well, at least a cup of coffee. Now, before I get going into this, the one thing I want to make very clear is that I'm saying this is not the only reason this fragmentation is happening. There are so many other elements at work that are also attributing to the fragmentation problem. But the difference with what I'm about to tell you is that this source of fragmentation has absolutely nothing to do with the other elements that have basically been deliberately, artificially created to distract you. This one is actually quite natural and completely unavoidable. But the good news is, unlike the static being deliberately, artificially produced, you can change this effect on you simply by knowing and understanding what it is, by being aware of it. If you stuck with me this far, your patience is about to pay off, because I've laid a proper foundation for what I'm about to tell you, including the winning numbers for the next lottery drawing. I'm just joking, of course, about the lottery numbers, but if you're listening to what I have to say here, you can already consider yourself a winner. There are many things we have control over in our lives, but there are other things which we absolutely don't. And I know this may sound counterintuitive, especially since we've been conditioned to childlike helplessness, unable to cope with the insurmountable stress of manually operating a toaster without an app. But it's far more important to focus on the things we absolutely don't control by not allowing the things we don't control to control us. Just a quick side note concerning apps. Yes, I do use some apps, but even if they ever do make one, I absolutely draw the line at wiping my ass, as I believe there are some things in this world that simply should be done manually. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, really, you're too kind. Thank you. One of the things that we all have in common is that we had absolutely no control of where or when we were born. Now, I'm not claiming that statement to be profound, but here's what's looked over with that most people are simply not aware of. Where and when you were born is a direct connection in the formation of your worldview. And even more specifically, there is an actual time frame of all the experiences you've had within a certain decade of your life. And that time frame is between the ages of 15 to 25. That single decade, to a great extent, determines how well you're able to interact and cope with what's commonly referred to as a crazy and fucked up world. Now, I'm not going to go into providing charts and diagrams of all the scientifically peer-reviewed evidence to support my claim. It's simply not my style. I'm simply going to tell you there is overwhelming research that supports it. So, as the famous Robert Ripley of Ripley's Believe It or Not once said, believe it or not. The fact is that to a greater or lesser extent, even on a subconscious level, we are all affected by those factors. When you were born, where you were born, the social and economic situation in particular, in that decade of our lives, and absolutely nothing that follows has a greater effect on our lives and the choices and decisions we make than that. So, does this ultimately answer the age old question of why can't we all just get along? Yes. Yes, it does. And if you think that's interesting, here's even more to think about. This is the reason why even people you know who grew up in the same city, small town, or neighborhood as you are often very different than you. Even if you think you know them, because that decade of experience, that's exactly what they were living through and doing from the age of 15 to 25 difference I mentioned earlier makes all the difference, even with family members, and how they think and process the world. And those differences only become greater with the difference of age with two people. And the sooner you understand and accept that, the potentially better your interaction with that other person will be. So, I've actually only scratched the surface of this fascinating subject, but I don't want to talk your ear off. So, I'll just finish up with this thought. There are many things in life that continue to be a mystery, like why the hell Lady J hasn't fallen madly in love with me. But this isn't one of them. Science clearly explains, for those who are willing to listen, very clearly what's going on. And that's what I just explained to you. It's not politics, it's not religion, or even ideology, because those things only come after the age of 25, when all those countless ideas and ideals have been percolating for that decade, that things begin to solidify and coalesce, hopefully for the good, but quite often for the bad. It's like my dad once told me, son, you're going to drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln. Oops, sorry, wrong dad. What I meant to say, son, what you're going to have to understand is no matter how good you may try to treat some people, you go out of your way to help them in every way, and then they turn right around and disappoint you, betray you, or even try to somehow harm you. And those people have a name, son. They're called assholes. While everything I just said was obviously more technical and eloquent than what my dad would have said, my dad had several skills, and one of them was definitely concision. And sometimes concision is better than anything else. If you found this episode informative or entertaining, please consider subscribing. And if you just want to reach out to me with whatever's on your mind, you can do so by clicking on my contact link in the description below. Until next time, this is Ernest, and that's all I've got for today.